Hello, fellow humans. My name is Dorothy Laxton, and this is Fostering Untethered Communication and Knowledge, an adventure in stimulating objective, critical thought, shining the spotlight through individual spectacles, putting it once again on the bigger picture and our parts in it. Searching for life beyond the lifestyles we North American urban dwellers have to choose to chase, encouraging all to participate in positive change. Hello, fellow humans. I'm sitting here trying to find the right approach to what I want to say. At the moment, the fundamental thought is around what we're calling gender, what we've called gender, which is a social construct. It's the way that we view another person based on their physical sex, or the way that they present physically. And quite frankly, I thought the whole point was to get rid of that. To understand that people born with certain body parts just simply have different biological functions. It has very, very, very little to do with the way that they express themselves generally, in the grand scheme of things. Why is the social construct what we are basing everything on? I'd considered starting this more like a story, a fable, or a recounting of what it was really like before that's completely obliterated, because we now have probably 2 generations that really don't understand what the world was like when we were building lives and not chasing lifestyles. That disappeared in the 80s when we all started chasing luxurious lifestyles as opposed to building sustainable lives. And it started way before that with corporate capitalism. Public relations and marketing are pretty much our entire economy at this point. That's how YouTubers and influencers survive. It's literally, we've all just become cogs in a marketing machine, making up numbers that we're calling wealth, and really none of it is based in any inherent value. And the one thing we are valuing above absolutely everything else is recreational sex, which is the absolute last thing on the list, okay? It should be. There is a reality about our wiring for sex, and that is the reason why it's all there in the first place, is to propagate the species. And if we cease, like we have, to start at that point with human developmental introductions to the subject matter, and we lose absolute respect for that absolute primary purpose of all of it, like we have, we are literally denying ourselves our actual natural existence. This is the beautiful gift that I was given of life. And it's really hard to try and figure out ways to speak to people about this stuff, because for me in my whole life, even in the years that I ignored it and went along with, okay, this is my culture and I don't need a man and I can just have fun and I should be proud of the fact, I should, be grateful for the fact that I enjoy it. It was all a lie. And yeah, I blame my culture in large part. I blame my circumstance. And I blame my sensitivity. And I made choices. And this is why I can call these choices that we keep making for our comfort over for our good. Oh, I know I'm on a really, really, really bad sugar cycle. And I keep, sneaking those treats. As long as I keep sneaking those treats, I'm not going to get off of that really bad sugar cycle that's making me sick. We really need to put sexuality back in its place. The sexual revolution demanded that everybody deal with everybody's sex life now. The reason why they started creeping down sex education into, middle school and things like that is because we had to damage control the fact that grown-ups just weren't going to put it in their pants anymore because that was repression. No, it wasn't repression. It was caution. It was responsibility. Children aren't capable of processing this stuff. And sure, do we have to insist that boys wear blue and girls wear pink, even though originally that actually was the other way around? Like, that stuff is not, like, instead of saying it doesn't matter if a boy wants to wear a dress or a girl wants to do this, they're still a boy, and boys can wear dresses and makeup. Quite frankly, I don't think children should be wearing makeup. I don't wear it myself. I don't understand. I never understood all of these needs to the need to modify ourselves to be beautiful. Allow ourselves to be the beautiful creatures that we are. We all are. And making everything about sex, it's not healthy. Especially when it's everything about anything but the primary purpose of it. I get really angry when I listen to women who are childless talk about children like they're cockroaches, like they're pests, like they're little buzzing flies or mosquitoes. Like, it's really horrible hatred. That is hate. That is hate speech. Television programs called Children Ruin Everything or something like that. I think that's the title that I saw in a bus shelter. That is hate speech. It's hate speech. Way more than misgendering somebody. I'm sorry. Feminism was a misogynistic booby trap. All we have done is hate what a woman, a biological female, is. All we want to do is fix it. We don't see the gift. The journeys. Yes. Oh man, is it a journey? The ups and downs. The appreciation and respect for that. That's what feminism should have been about. Was creating a world where we can economically not feel like burdens, where there's an appreciation for the contribution of being a woman, of being a mother, of being the one that manages the resources, or not. Or, yes, being the one that bears the child. But the thing that really bothered me about the way our culture developed is it made it so that women didn't have the choice. We all have to be cogs in the machine. We all have to have jobs and careers. It gave men the opportunity to, really honestly be lazy about it. Like, I don't understand how women didn't see what we created. It made me very angry. It's also made me friendless. But we've created so much of this. So over a decade ago, I was reading articles about rape anxiety in women who had never actually experienced physical sexual violence. Any sexual violence. What they're calling sexual violence these days is mostly women being triggered by natural things. It's not victim blaming to say if you present yourself in an overtly sexual manner, inciting that kind of a response from people purposefully for your own ego, you have to accept the fact that you are going to incite responses from people. I've been pretty candid about the fact that I was shaped to be a sexual object. And when I was 14 or 15, I was drinking in a park. And I was technically raped. I'm not going to get into all of the ins and outs of what happened. It was not lengthy or violent. I was legless drunk. I blamed myself. It took me over a year to actually tell anybody about what happened. It was stopped. There were other people there that I was with who heard me yell, and he was having issues, so I use the word rape because there was penetration. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, the reason why these things are increasing, and the reason why we have more and more, particularly young women, who have experienced sexual violence is because they've had it fed into their fucking brains. Okay? So reading these articles for a decade ago about women walking around petrified to be on streets with men they didn't know walking along the same street. What people are calling violence these days, again, it's a lot of priming in our brains of other people's intents. And these notions for decades that men are inherently malevolent. Okay. Men and women both can experience incredibly high sex drives, especially in their youth. I actually experienced a serious spike at the end of perimenopause going in, and then when I actually hit the menopause, it died. I think if I had actually ever really developed the kind of relationship with a partner, I would still have a sex life, but I don't need one. And like, I've done my duty. I had a child, and I want my child to know that that's not how I view them. Don't make many references to my child in these videos because of a lot of reasons. I'm saying a lot of things that I'm sure they don't want to be associated with. I won't even gender them because I understand how this whole social connectedness works. And the last thing that I want to do is create any kind of discord for my child in their life as a grown-up. This is me desperately trying to get people to understand that the place that I'm coming from is a place of experience and a lot of education, formal, a lot of early interest and research, and again, experience and observation, and faith that there's a point to it all. If nothing else, I'm a cautionary tale. I am the first person to admit that I have made a lot of mistakes. That doesn't mean there can't be good come from it. And just because I'm sitting here sometimes, and yeah, I'm frustrated, I get angry, because there's so much senseless suffering. I experience a lot of it. I absorb it. Every time I think about the kids out there that are going through shit like I went through, it breaks my heart when I see adults promoting behaviors that allow for the kinds of things that happen to me to happen, and make the victims of these things feel like they're the problem. Because that's happening. It's happening. Please, please, whatever you do, when you dismiss people bringing up children being groomed and abused, just remember what you have to say about the Catholic Church and their cover-ups. Okay? This is coming from a victim who, despite their hyper self-awareness and hyper awareness of what they experienced, and their attempts in, honestly, it's been 35 years since I had my first therapy. It breaks my heart that people don't care that this shit doesn't go away. Do no harm. Let's grow up and be responsible adults again. Let's give innocence back to children. They deserve it. I didn't get it. Very, very brief window. Very brief window. One of the joys of having like super early childhood trauma that you never weren't aware of is your memory is really long. I'm grateful that I can still remember what it felt like to be that innocent child somewhere way deep down there. I just gotta get her to stop crying for the fact that it was stolen from her. Please. Again, like, don't feel sorry for me, because I mean, I'm still here. I've taken a shit kicking my whole life, and I will continue to do so, and you can think whatever you want of me for speaking out about the fact that we have to stop sexualizing children. We have to stop having all of these bizarre representations that we're making up in our heads, caricatures of what it means to be somebody with boobs and a vagina. We have to stop literally, sorry, I'm going to use the word mutilating ourselves, or encouraging people to mutilate themselves rather than accept the human condition we all have. It's never going away. We're not going to make it better. We just make it worse. Look at the spike. Okay, suicide rates are not going down. Maybe that's the point. So, this is coming from my heart. I love us all, and I'd really like to see us well. But we got to get some stuff into perspective. We got to start looking for value and not profit. I should have done my grad work. I was going to examine the problem of the profit motive versus actual value. Realize that this wealth, okay, the standard of living we supposedly have, that is driving us into unhealthier and unhealthier states. And then instead of rectifying the things that are creating our unwellness, we're normalizing it. Saying we have to accept all of this unwellness, rather than do the things that will make us be able to be well. Which is stop making it an issue. What we should be teaching children is that's a human being in front of you. That's all they need to know. They need to know that you have to have respectful boundaries. You don't lay hands on a person unless there's some sort of affirmative. You don't necessarily have to ask. There are ways you can get consent without words. The fact that we even have to talk about, offering a hug says a lot about what feminism has done. This became more of a ramble than I'd hoped. Once upon a time, people didn't base everything in their life around what made them feel horny. It was actually really not something people really were terribly open about, because it was nobody's business about, unless you were somebody that made you feel horny, and then maybe you'd have a conversation about it or not. We used to, before all of this technology, we could actually read nonverbal cues. We understood body language. You can tell a lot more from gestures and tone of voice and facial expression and body movement and pace and all of those things than you ever could from words. We've lost all of that with all of our progress. We got to think about what we're throwing out and what we're keeping. And we got to understand we are far more than sex toys, guys. We're far more than orgasms. We really, really are. Thank you for listening. Narrative bullshit. It's propaganda.